in for another adventure, another episode in what's real and what's fake. I guess, and the answer to that question changes every day. I'm not talking about the news. I'm talking about the idea of us being in a simulation created by perhaps versions of ourselves from the future. I don't know. It's the laws of physics, the laws of everything seems to be changing at a pretty fast clip. Let me just summarize a few things that I care to speak about during this broadcast. One is I want to share the exciting news that we have signed the papers to move the Republic forward in Mojave County, Arizona. We all the officers of this republic in Mojave County signed documents, and we moved forward. And we signed in red, which is kind of like signing in blood. That we are moving beyond the corporate maritime law structure into the republic, into living men and women that own property that extends to the center of the earth. This is a real revolution in consciousness, that we are reclaiming our natural rights as living people. In remember during while we were captured by this corporate entity called, we sometimes call the deep state, that they use maritime law. They have courts that are English bar. They're like foreign entities, and run essentially as a satanic organization. The republic replaces all of that. It doesn't argue with it. It doesn't go point to point with the creepazoids. Frank and Ruth, hey Frank. It just replaces the whole corporate structure, the whole maritime legal structure, the bar, and everything with it. This whole profit making entity called the deep state, essentially, is being replaced. And this is happening. This will happen in some way, shape, or form, it locally everywhere. As we explode the knowledge of the level of fraudulent activity that has been stealing our money, stealing our time, stealing our children, stealing our lives. This whole phony baloney setup is being replaced. And this, I think, is an important point, that we're not saying, well, you can't do this anymore. We're not, I don't think there's anything to fight about with the corporate entity called the United States of America. We are the Republic of the United States for America. There's a difference in one word, but it is huge. I also, during this meeting today, it was a local meeting of the Republic. I got to meet some friends and family from various places. We brought our friend Lawrence with us, and Lawrence had to declare himself a member of the military in order not to be conceived as like an enemy spy, that sort of thing. And we came together to reinstate, actually to instate, to manifest this new constitutional republic where people are alive, people are considered alive, whereas in the maritime corporate government, the United States of America, we are considered straw men. We are considered as lost at sea and this sort of thing. Now, at this meeting was a very interesting person who is associated with Jay Gould. I think is it Robert Jay Gould? I'm not really sure, but associated with the Postmaster General from Oneonta. Nice. Walter, you're up in Oneonta? We were just there like a week ago. It's so interesting. But we met somebody from Jay Gould's entourage, his community, his leadership. And they said that they would talk to him and see if he would come online with us, which is an unbelievable honor. She was saying that they have a hard time. Podcasters don't want to do them. I'm like, why wouldn't you want the Postmaster General, who's basically in charge, who basically has captured the flag and is in charge in a way that nobody really understands of the entire world? Why wouldn't you want to talk to somebody like that? And the podcasters, it's because the information stream, the information that people want to receive is more action based. It's like Joe Rogan telling you what's really, this whole the action, what's really going on, this kind of thing, which is it to me, to my mind, it really has no interest. It doesn't hold any interest to me whatsoever. I'm being subjected to Brian's coffee with
That's not Brian's.
so okay, so we ran out of Brian's coffee, but with really good coffee with whipped cream on top. We had a big argument today about whether or not to buy a second frother.
No.
We didn't have an argument. No, okay, so we agreed that we needed a second frother. I never heard of a frother before. Have you heard of frothers? But apparently that's what you use to whip cream up very quickly.
Yeah, that's that travel blender.
Travel one?
Travel size blender.
Like a travel blender. At any rate, did I lose my little?
You have to drink it.
My little kerchief.
Right here.
Thank you. We live on the land. Okay, so, but to meet Jay Gould, to be even considered, that he would even consider coming on this channel is just, I find so remarkable. This goes with the idea that the people of real value are not at all appreciated by the community at large. Jay Gould saw an opportunity. He stepped in. He basically captured the flag. He took over America to some degree. I don't know the details of the whole story, but he can't. Podcasters don't want to have him on his channel. I'm like, are you guys insane? It's because we live in bizarro world where everything is upside down, where you want to talk to Bruce Springsteen like he has some value, some intrinsic value. I mean, maybe he does as a musician. I never could really. It just sounds like a pompous jerk to me. But he's gassy at least. I mean, but these are the people that the normies want to turn to for information. It's really quite laughable. It's a horrible subjection. You're divine. Thank you. It's a horrible. I'm not exactly sure what you're saying, Gypsy, but deja vu. See you, Starfire. Yeah, sick of the Matrix. Yeah, Kenzo, I definitely hear you. Okay, so all right, bear with me here. I remember Russ. Rush saying stuff like that. Like, bear with me, folks. I love Rush. I just do. I somehow I can't I can't really come to grips with the idea that he's not with us anymore. I just don't believe it. Rush is very alive to me. And I first heard him when I was still a liberal, and I was hired to do some carpentry in somebody's house in a log cabin in Tennessee, a beautiful log cabin. And he had Rush Limbaugh running out while I was building a door out of black walnut, I think it was. It was just beautiful wood. But anyway, so right, so we are in bizarro land. Okay, there's no question about it, and everything is upside down. However, this idea, and my friend Lawrence was very impressed with the meeting of the Republic, because this must occur in some fashion. We don't need to argue it. We certainly don't want to go to illicit legal structures to adjudicate a case against these vampires. That would just be, it would just be like ridiculous waste of time. I learned that years ago when I tried to sue the Department of Education for various infractions on my liberty, that you can't win because they have very deep pockets and you're paying a lawyer, and $1,000 is a lot of money, even if you have a job, and after a while they just wear you down. And that's what these creeps have been doing. So I want to weave that in with some information about Archons and the people who are in charge of this simulation, perhaps. I also just want to mention, and these are just things this is like the kaleidoscope that's running through my mind right now. I watched a 10-minute video about Iran. Iran has these deep nuclear deployments, the deep nuclear underground bases. And it's not Iran. It has very little to do with Iran, the country or the people, but it has to do with the deep state. The deep state, like they were running Ukraine, like they were running parts of Israel, like they were running Hamas, like they were running Venezuela and Cuba. The deep state, with their portraying themselves as communists or socialists or as Vatican, as popes. The deep state is the media. The deep state has many, many tentacles, but they're all connected essentially in a hidden way, in a way that we haven't been able to see. Tired of rock and roll stars, and nobody said how to live. Right. I totally agree. But I think it's a choice at this point. And I want to spend a few minutes at least talking about a thing that Samantha mentioned the other night, which is she called it gray rocking. I also want to pay my respects to Matt Myers, who's a friend of the channel, and he is saving me from having to say, I'm not an enlightened being, but this is what I learned. What he said was, I'm allowed to call myself a student of Ascension. I've been a student of Ascension since I was about 15. I've always probably since I was about 3, maybe even before that. I've always considered myself to be on this path. But, for me to say, I want to talk about the ascension process. I do not consider myself to be an ascended master in any way, shape, or form, but I am a student of ascension. I think that was a brilliant way of putting this. Hello from upstate New York. Yeah, upstate is so beautiful this time of year. We had such a nice time in upstate New York few about a week ago. We just had we've been to the same city several times, so we know where. For us, it's all about the food. It's we have to have the right foods. We're happy as long as we have.
And we found a good butcher.
Oh, and we found a very nice a very good butcher in Syracuse. We were in Syracuse. Okay, so I'm going to I appreciate that you're willing to put up with me. I'm not presenting a linear platform in any shape, in any form whatsoever. But I want to talk. I want to take one step back. We're going to talk about Archons because there's some posts that should not be ignored. We're going to talk maybe briefly about the Iranian situation, which is that we have to take those creeps completely down. And this is a deep state. This is not the Iranian people. This is not the Persian people. This is not Islam. This is deep state. And it has to be completely annihilated. They cannot be allowed to have a nuclear bomb. And part of the reason, by the way, that the movie is rolling out in what seems to us to be a very slow fashion is that the people in charge, the people in the military, do not want the deep state blowing up any nuclear bombs or destroying hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, the way they have done in the past with their wars and their conflicts and their setting us against each other and all this other stuff. So that's why the movie, in my opinion, is moving slowly, and also because there are a lot of creeps out there in the deep state that are working for these. When you listen to the fraud, we listen to President Trump's cabinet meeting, the level of fraud alone is staggering. It's beyond belief. We're talking billions. They just arrested some CIA official who had $40 million worth of gold bars that he somehow had in his house. This is a war. This is Casino Royale. This is winner takes all. There cannot be a partial victory here. The deep state has to be completely annihilated. The deep state and their masters, the manipulators who are running this simulation that we consider to be real, and it is real. Is real, like the country, right? I'm beginning. The beginning of the world destruction started May 13th, 1948. The Republic understands this. Could very well be 1948. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Are you referring to the? If you're referring to the beginning of Israel, I'm not a big fan of people that say that it's all about the Jews in Israel that are causing this problem. I don't see that whatsoever. I do, however, see the deep state. I'm not sure what you're referring to in 1948, but I do see this as a war against the deep state handlers. But the Ascension point that, as a student of Ascension, I want to make is a reflection of a brilliant point that Samantha made about dealing with narcissists. She said she enjoys gray rocking narcissists. That's powerful. I'm not on her level. I cannot gray rock a narcissist. I put miles and communication blocks. I stay if once I recognize that you're a narcissist, and how do I recognize it? When I start thinking about you, when you start renting space in my head, just like nicotine or coffee or any addiction, food, your food addiction, when it starts to rent space in my head, that's when I usually say, well, why am I thinking about this person I don't like? How do I stop thinking about it? And with a narcissist, it clings. They have a way of like coming into your thought stream and like sucking the life out of you. I just avoid people like that. I'm not like Samantha where I can just like she can toy with him. I cannot. But here's the point that I want to make about a possible a tool in your Ascension kit. I years ago I had a real problem. This was, I think, when I was becoming sober for the first time. I had a real problem with locking my keys in my car and locking myself out of my house, this kind of thing. I was so emotionally involved with life. I was just operating from the emotional world, the world of Yetzirah, if you want to talk about the four worlds in Kabbalah. But everything was emotional to me. Everything was reaction, cause and effect. Reaction. It was war. It was continual war-like thing. This is when I was younger. And at the time, I was locking myself out of cars quite more than I wanted to. So I trained myself to never close a door until I felt the keys in my hand. And to this day, I will not close. I get out of the truck, and the first thing I do is search, I say, where's the keys? I will not close the door. Even if the door is not locked, I do not go there ever. It's just I've had to train myself, and I haven't locked myself out, thank God, for many, many years, many decades, because I've trained myself to do this. So too, and I'm just going to mention this briefly as part of the Ascension, as a student of Ascension, this is something that I do, and it may be helpful to somebody else. As soon as I have a negative thought, as soon as I feel like I am about to judge another human being, and not always, I'm saying ideally that I do this. I sometimes, like one time this week, I just lost it. I lost my cool. I started screaming and yelling at people. So I'm not an ascended master that has master, but however, just like the keys have to be in my hand before I close the door, as soon as I find myself getting out of the world of metacognition, which means I'm thinking about my thinking most of the day, most of the time, when I work with my hands, it's like I'm free not to think at all. But I don't have the kind of thoughts that I used to have about what am I going to do about this and what about the money. And I mean, I do get into that space at times, but generally, if I ever find myself starting to get heated about anything, I've trained myself to go, and I start saying a mantra. My mantra is Rabbono Shel Olam, which means master of the universe. Rabbono on the in-breath, Shel Olam of the world on the out-breath. That's as soon as, and in my ideal world, in my ideal version of myself, as soon as, like, usually if you have a partner, your partner might say something that will set you off, because that's what partners are supposed to do. But if you are a student of Ascension and you suddenly find yourself getting angry about something that Joe Biden said, or the fact that Obama is alive, or to some extent, or that he was ever alive, and it pisses you off. If I was to entertain such a thought as that, I would immediately go into Rabbono Shel Olam. Master of the universe. It's an old thing. I got it from Kaplan, from a great rabbi wrote a book about Jewish meditation. But it could be anything. It could be I love you. It could be, I like to eat oranges. It doesn't matter. It's just that we as students of Ascension do not, or want to try our best not to lock ourselves out of the car of emotion, or to lock ourselves out, or to not engage in that kind of emotion. Now, the emotion of love, you see somebody far away and you suddenly feel I do not go into that mantra at all. I just like, wow, man, I feel love for that person. I don't know why, but it's a great thing. It's a beautiful thing. Or I'm feeling really good about the day. I don't say, oh, you're delving into like an emotional abyss, right? No, but if I entertain a really negative thought, like, my God, what the hell am I going to do? Which I've been in that situation recently, and was saved by my dearest savior, Diane, who just said, "You need help? I'll help you." And it was huge, because you remember what happened. I found out on the chat that my land was up for auction, and I didn't believe it, because I was in this mindset of like, I can't even think about it, because I'm not I want to manifest that I don't have to pay my mortgage anymore. I was in that mindset. I was testing out a theory. And somebody came on the channel and said, your land is up for auction. I was like, no, they're a troll. They're trying to distract me. And it was true. We're dealing with criminals. We're dealing with hardcore murderers and criminals. The medical profession, the legal profession, the bureaucratic class, both local and national. These are criminals. They're pedophiles. They're murderers. They push, like the CEO of YouTube violated our constitutional rights so that they could pump a poison into more of humanity. That was her modus operandi. Cancel anybody that speaks against the vax. Destroy as many humans as we can. This is what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with a criminal class, the cartels that are running the drug market, the cartels that are called big pharma. They're doing it legally. It doesn't matter. This is what we're dealing with. But if you find yourself lapsing into a state of like before, like you're about to lock yourself out of your car, and then you realize, I don't have the keys. Where are the keys? The keys aren't in my hand. They're still in the car, and I'm about to close the door. I can't do it. I've trained myself. I can't do it. So too, you can train yourself not to get into the emotional pit where you start getting angry or sad or doubtful or fearful or any of that stuff. You just go into Robono show, I just go into a meditation, and sometimes I'm not successful and sometimes I am. Most of the time it's just like, okay, she said that, and it's gonna, am I gonna argue with her? What is the point? What will it get me to argue with her? Rabbana Shalom, Master of the Universe, man, just keep me calm. It's kind of like AA, teach me to not to get emotionally involved, not to, to know what's important, to know what's really worth getting. Now, there are times when you need to get mad. You don't necessarily have to get emotionally involved with getting angry. You can just be angry kind of like for show. And enlightened guys can do that. I'm not really one of those guys, but I worked with rabbis who were highly advanced, and students of Torah on a big, they were just, they dedicated their lives to giving, and they were able to express anger without being angry, just to have an effect, to help people sometimes people need to have the boundaries that have to be you know put out there. So I wanted to put that tool out there because what is this? Oh,
For
yeah.
Ken.
Ken?
Yeah.
Kenzo or Ken? Ken Anderson. Yeah. Ken Anderson, thanks for the moringa seeds. We will
He's in
plant.
Nebraska too. Like
He's in Nebraska, like Samantha. We will plant these, and we thank you. We thank everyone who's helping us. I mean, we have our friend Jane, who just we have the water, the X2O machine in the house. We haven't hooked it up yet, and it's as you know, we live in a little tiny RV,
And you got some more.
and we got heirloom tomato,
The purple
Amish
one.
pesto. That looks amazing. And heirloom tomato, purple Cherokee. Oh, that's really good. Yeah, out here you can start tomato plants in May. In New York, you can't start till like the end of May, June. But we've had our tomatoes have been growing since February up here. It's an amazing place to live. I mean, in that respect. And also, I spoke to some farmers today, to a farmer today, and he said that he encloses, his whole garden with sheets, and it keeps the humidity in. And I said, well, we're experimenting with groundwater under the surface, and so far it seems somewhat successful. Like the plants are getting their water, but not on the surface.
Except Lawrence was killing the
Except
plants.
we had a guest over who insisted on taking a shower with soap,
Irish Spring.
with Irish Spring of all things, which is utter poison. Not even the mice will go near Irish Spring. But so the plants were a little bit not so happy about having poisons in their water supply. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword. But we generally don't use soap when we bathe. We just bathe in water. So the plants are loving it. But anyway, so yeah, so that's a little side point. But yeah, use this trick. It's just a trick. If you find yourself getting emotional, before the emotion takes root and goes from your gut into the rest of your body, into your brain, God forbid, just start breathing deeply. Just like if you want to train yourself to not locking yourself out of your car or your house, just you can train your body more than your mind. Your body, my body just knows. I'm like looking at my hand. I'm looking at my keys. It's like what's going on here? They're like, you got your keys. My body is showing my mind that it's okay to close the door. Right? It's giving my mind permission to function. And this is you can train yourself in these ways. And you can train yourselves that if you feel like you're about to judge somebody else, you're about to say, oh, I hate those kind of people, before you think that thought, and you can feel it in your stomach, you start deep breathing. Or you think of you train yourself. It's like, I don't go there very often. Sometimes, once in a while, I find myself damning this or damning that kind of person. But generally, I just like, I don't entertain those kinds of thoughts. I try my best not to. I'm a student of Ascension. I don't have to be a master. But I'm a student. Whatever. I'm not gonna. I'm just. It doesn't matter to live a life where you use your emotions and your thoughts and everything for positive, to create positive experiences. That's, I think, what it's all about. And positive experiences do erupt. I went to my favorite pawn shop today, which is Pawn World 2 in Kingman. and I bought a few pieces of silver.
So instead of what you wanted was 7, you got 10.
Right. We bought some silver. And I had spent some XRP last week going to Syracuse, and I bought it back. This is there's there's you know we're manifesting, and it doesn't necessarily come. You think a thought, it's like I've been thinking for a long time, I really like to own some more silver. I had a lot of silver, but I'd like to do that again. And it hasn't the last year and a half, maybe 2 years, it just hasn't gone that way. And then all of a sudden things are going a little bit better. And why not? What? Oh, and by the way, I will never, ever, ever reach out to anyone. I met somebody today who said they were almost scammed on Facebook. I will never reach out with a crypto deal for you. I will never, ever do that. So if you see somebody coming to you and asking you, it's Ellie, and I want to do a deal, I want to tell you about something, that is not me. Okay. I don't do that ever. So those are scammers, and I'm sorry if anyone's been scammed. I got scammed the same way, so I know what it feels like. It's horrendous, and it's one of those things you don't forget so easily. But we just have to keep on keeping on, and being persistent, and showing up every day, and doing whatever it is that you want to do consistently. I'm trying hard not to be so um irritated with my brothers. Yeah, it's an ongoing, and I'm not coming to you to say that I've mastered it, I am this ascend. No, but I at least understand the struggle. And I have, sometimes Daniela says things just like, I'm just like, what? I'm like, you can't be serious. And sometimes, most of the time, she's actually right. But I'm very thick-headed. I will insist, if you ever go out in the woods with me, I will insist on going the wrong way. 9 times out of 10, I'm like, I no, we have to go that way. I'm just wrong way about some things. But to just say, okay, she said this, am I going to react to it? Am I going to yell at her? Am I going to scream? I might, but ideally I want to be able to just go, ooh, what a nice day it is. Oh yeah, you want the frother? That's nice, right? You want the frother? You want an extra frother? It's it's not. She says not much money. It's only $10. I mean, in my mind, it's like $10, but $10. If you keep paying $10, it adds up. But anyway, so check out the hoop house, cheap and easy to build. Yeah, I've already got my. I'm trying not to be so irritated by my brothers. Yeah, why not pay back the land loan? That's a novel idea of being grateful. Yeah, I hope to. I mean, that's every day my intention. So that I'm doing my best towards that. But yeah, so yeah, absolutely. So that's the goal. Let me just what happened here? Oh, here we go. No, that's weird. Okay, so I'm trying to, let's see. Um, weird. I'm getting, my computer is not. Um, okay, so that's part of the equation. Now I want to go to a slightly different, a very different thing. I want to look at some of these stories that I've been collecting recently that I think are groundbreaking, and that these are things that we need to start examining. Rabbit holes, perhaps, but rabbit holes that are being examined by the collective. the collective are looking at some of these things. I feel like I'm going long. I'm trying hard not to be that irritated. Yeah, we try, and that's all you can do. But I'm just telling you, a trick that I use is to a deep breathing. It's like immediately when the emotions kick in, when when I feel like I'm about to have a judgment, even a thought, or you could when I was younger and I had issues with lustful thoughts that I didn't really want to have. A friend of mine, Yeshaya, told me that you can nip the thought in the bud if you want to. You can catch it before it's entertained by your mind and it starts to grow like a seed. Like the seed, I'm working with a lot of seeds now, and some seeds just don't grow. They, for whatever reason, and the seeds that come into your thought stream, some of them you really don't want to entertain that thought. So, Shelby, hey Shelby, Shelby's awesome, man. Um, I'm trying hard not to be right. Frank, so we are not a democracy. We are the Republican. Yeah, that's true. True, Frank. Yeah, I'm on point. Okay, so I think I made my point. Just and but thanks to my hats off to Matt Myers, who told me, because I was going like, well, I'm not a master. I'm not really ascended, and I was going through all this apology stuff, and he just said, just say you're a student of Ascension. And it's so much easier. I'm a student of Ascension. Am I a master? No, but I can still try, and we're all trying. We're all working on ourselves. So let me share a couple of these stories because I think these are quite important for us to examine. Okay, let's go through this just for a few moments at least. Okay, it's official. ABC News had to say it out loud. In the mid 2000s, Trump called police about Jeffrey Epstein. So even the media is having to bend a bit. This is the article that I want. The fall of the Archons. I want to talk about the Archons for a moment. So let me go back here, go to here, and let's go. Okay, so let's examine this thought together. We all know what Archons are in a basic way. We know that Archons survive on our louche, meaning our negative thoughts, our fearful thoughts, our fearful actions. They feed off our negativity. So we know that much. But here we're starting to see more things that flesh out in a bigger way who and what the Archons are. So let's share this together now. Okay, this is coming from I Was Not Here. The Fall of the Archons, Dark to Light. Let me juice this up a bit. In the ancient vision reveals a profound truth. The rulers of this world are not the ultimate authority. A lesser creator, blind to the higher source, fashioned the material realm and declared himself supreme. From him emerged the Archons. He might be talking about Enlil. He might be talking about the Elohim. He might be talking about the fallen angels. But this is very interesting information that we're receiving. And I consider I Was Not Here, IWNH on X, to be an excellent source that I've entertained a lot of his posts as being very cutting edge, interesting. Okay, so from him emerged the Archons, a lesser creator blind to the higher source, like the Satan, fashioned the material realm and declared himself supreme. From him emerged the Archons, governing powers that dominate matter, fate, and human perception. That's why I'm saying, man, I have to have a little bit of control over myself and not get sucked into every time somebody presses my buttons. I don't have to react because it feeds these Archons. governing powers that dominate matter, fate, and human perception. They do not rebel in the classical sense. Their fall is deeper, an ontological blindness that mistakes limited control for absolute reality. This is heady stuff, right? And I'm, these entities crafted humanity as a reflection of something greater, yet they could not ignite true life. The divine spark entered from beyond, a living light they have feared and sought to contain ever since. They want us all to be automatons. They want us all to be robots. They want us to live in fear. They want us to live inside the matrix. So when you find yourself being sucked into the Archon power structure, when you find yourself being sucked into emotional responses, being pissed off about something that you cannot control in any way, shape, or form, that's you escape the matrix by taking a deep breath and thinking about something else, whatever that is, or doing a mantra like I do. Today, the Archons have broken the ancient treaty. Once content with subtle influence, they now openly attack mankind, seeking its destruction through engineered chaos, division, and spiritual erosion. They enter humans through dimensional occupation, using scalar modulated microportals stabilized by quantum vacuum fluctuations and toroidal plasma resonance. What was once called possession is now a precise overlay. Higher order consciousness phases into biological vessels, us, via entangled frequency bridges, allowing full control while harvesting emotional essence. So when you give into your emotions, when you slam that car door without thinking to yourself, do I have the keys in my hand? You are feeding the Archons. When you get pissed off about the normies, right? You just lose it. I'm just like, I can't take it anymore. You are feeding these crafty animals, these fallen. So their army consists of the cabal. That's the people who work for them, the deep state structures, the soulless hybrid entities, biological shells lacking the full divine spark, right? Biological entities like people who have been boosted, right? They don't have that divine spark anymore. They volunteered for this stupidity. They volunteered to be non-divine creatures. They volunteered to be servants of these Archons because they would rather be slaves than have to deal with the responsibility that comes with creation. These serve as perfect intermediaries, pushing agendas of transhumanism, societal collapse, and dilution of natural humanity to weaken the spark and prevent mass awakening. These are the ones who work for these Archons. The Archons fail. The Archons fall because they rule what they do not understand. They don't understand emotion. They don't understand creation. Humanity awakens the moment it recognizes the prison is not the whole of existence. The final battle is here, the invisible war against those who would enslave us forever. The spark cannot be extinguished. The higher light returns. This is huge, man. This is where it's all coming. Okay, so the new Bretton Woods, right? The economy from the foundation of the world. Frequency is freedom. Higher order non-human intelligence descended and seeded humanity through deliberate genetic intervention, appointing bloodline stewards to manage the planetary harvest. These soulless hybrids vessels stripped. Okay, let me go into this, because this is another post that is, I think, very important to examine. If not necessarily get wrapped up in it, but to know the real game that's being played on in our reality. I don't want to say the planet anymore. In this reality, in this fantastic thing that's going on. Okay, so let's go back to this. Let me just go to the show more, and then I'll go back here, and we will now venture forth back into this. Here we go. Okay, so let's read this together. From the foundation of the world, higher order non-human intelligence descended and seeded humanity through deliberate genetic intervention, appointing the 13 bloodline families, stewards to manage the planetary harvest, like eating us and eating our loosh, surviving on our negative energy. These soulless hybrids, vessels stripped of the complete divine frequency signature, became the living interface for the Archons, who require a ceaseless supply of human emotional essence and pure DNA to stabilize their presence across dimensional brains. The evil cabal, the deep state, and the global elites are their direct generational descendants. Today, they accelerate the harvest by pushing the woke agenda and transhumanism, programs designed to merge human biology with machine consciousness and erase the last remnants of the divine spark. The most vocal woke enforcers are not fully human. They are soulless biological entities, lab grown or hybrid vessels engineered but lack the inner resonance that once connected every soul to source. Their mission is to normalize the dilution of natural DNA, creating a compliant, genderless, emotionless workforce that no longer produces the high vibrational loosh the Archons crave. That they need human DNA because it still carries the original eighth watcher, the dormant angelic intelligence encoded in mitochondrial lines since the first seeding. Without it, their dimensional bridges collapse. The plasmonic Casimir fields and EPR entanglement they rely on cannot hold. Every transhuman upgrade and ideological inversion is an attempt to splice out that spark while harvesting the remaining essence before it awakens. Tesla's hidden discoveries revealed the countermeasure. Scalar standing waves tuned to Schumann harmonics could either enslave or liberate. The elites twisted it into global entrainment grids, yet the threshold is crossed. When global powers release the synchronized files, the blind grid shatters in planetary decoherence every eye shall see. The elect one, the pre-existent righteous one with a face like an angel, awakens from within the nonosphere as the eighth watcher activates simultaneously in millions. He will judge the hybrid elites and their deep state servants. The oppressors who devoured the poor will find no mercy. The righteous who endured will shine like stars and inherit the age of light. American forces under Trump lead the final hidden war. The harvest ends, the new humanity rises. Frequency is freedom. And this, in my opinion, is in total alignment with the little Ascension tidbit that we discussed earlier. Frequency. We are about frequency. So when we get sucked into this negative reality, into this action reaction world where you just, oh, I can't, they press my buttons and I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to have road rage. I'm going to scream at my wife. I'm going to jump up and down. Because the angst, the anger, the discomfort that these narcissistic elites install into the frequency framework, which should be dedicated to godliness and positive creation, is debilitating and painful beyond belief. The control grid, the control grid that they want to put on you, the normies on steroids. There were certain people that I grew up with that were so normal, it was just the thought of them would drive me insane. I'm like, I can't be like them, and yet at some way of looking at things, it seemed like the whole of creation, at least from the point of view of the creepazoids, was to glorify such a person. They always did what the teacher wanted. They always got the good grades. They were always, it's just like, they were always focused on being a good little boy or girl, where I could not, I could try, I could attempt to do that for a while. I could pull it off. But by and large, I'm like, I can't sit in this classroom anymore and do this. I'm going to have my thoughts. I'm going to look out the window and think about something else, because this reality does not engage me. It's not for me. It's not for us to live as servants of the Archons, of servants of these evil cabal, of these drug pushing, big pharma, illicit drugs, all this stuff. It's not for us. Our job is to create. Our job is to leave the matrix. It doesn't mean you have to quit your job, but it does mean you can't get entangled in their louche production, in their negative thought streams. Or you could get entangled, and then you have to escape it. Hell, some people think these conspiracy theories we talk about are crazy. I think they're crazy to not believe. Right. It's Matt Myers. Matt Myers, man, you're my teacher, man. This guy is so on, man. He's the one that came up with the idea of student of ascension. So I don't have to be an ascended master. I don't have to make that claim. I don't have to be Yogananda. I've meditated for 40 years in the desert, and I'm like, I'm completely, not there. That's not what we're talking about. And Matt really that just changed my whole way of thinking, because he said, you can tell people you're a student of ascension, and that makes sense. But why they stole our church bells and pipe organs? Yes, absolutely. Are you born Archon, or are you persuaded and developed by others Archons? I don't know, but I think the point to me is, you don't have to live like a refugee. You don't have to feed the animal. You don't have so this weaves into that little lesson that I'm trying to activate, which is, don't take the bait. Don't get into that state of losing control and then spend the next 3 days going, why did I say that? I lived like that for decades, just in utter fear that I would say something wrong and offend somebody. And then I would think about it and rethink about it and bounce around in my head for weeks. And it was so painful. It induces a feeling of utter shame, and shame is so painful. I don't want to go there ever. And so what I'm saying is that it doesn't have to be a big liberation event. You don't have to kill the dragon. You just have to walk away, be able to walk away and stand in your own power, which is the power of ascension. That's what Q says. Focus, focus, ascend. We have to ascend. Meaning, what does that mean? It doesn't mean that, oh, I'm not ascending right now. I'm a bad person. No, we don't want to judge ourselves because that's what elicits this feeling of shame. In my opinion, the whole idea of sin has no relationship whatsoever to us. You sinned. You're the original sinner. Your parents sinned. They created you. That is bullshit to me. So, I mean, somebody died for my sins, or I have to sacrifice an animal to atone for my sins. That's, in my opinion, that's just bullshit. Because there is no sin in that level. Yes, if you're killing somebody, you're hurting somebody. I mean, that's the basic rule of the Republic. Do no harm. The rest is commentary. Just do no harm. But if you're not doing any harm to anyone, and let's say somebody gets offended by you, which is like when I worked in the Department of Education, I was a public character, and people were getting offended me by all over the place because they were into political correctness and I was not. But after a while, you're just like, hey, man, you get pulled into the principal's office 50 times per semester. And you're just like, hey, man, I didn't really mean any harm. I just said something that somebody who looks at things through the lens of political correctness found completely offensive. I'm like, I didn't, I don't know, it wasn't my intention. But to live in that kind of an environment is ridiculous. But what I'm saying is that you don't have to live in the middle of the Mojave Desert like I do to be out of the matrix. You just have to be able to step back, take a deep breath, and say, hey, man, I don't agree with you, but it's okay that you have, you feel like that I'm a totally insane conspiracy theorist. Well, that's nice. Or you think I'm really a wise guy, really a smart person. That's nice. It doesn't matter. It's just I don't have to react to it. I don't have to get, whatever. Anyway, so that's why they stole our. Yeah, but yeah, it's. I mean, we're learning about this on many different levels. That's the beauty of this transformative period in history, that we're getting it on all sides. You can't not get it. It was so beautiful today at the Republic to be with people that are really into this idea. And this Jay Gould, the mention of Jay Gould, the woman who's works with him as a postmaster general herself, I think in the state, she was like, I was like, I would love to have him on. I would be so honored to be able to talk to him. Are you kidding me? He's my hero. These are the heroes of the world. The people that don't do it for money. They don't do it for fame. They don't have to have $40 million worth of gold bars in their house. They're just regular folks that want to live and do no harm. That's the Republic. We don't need all these stupid rules. We don't need like a local government that's completely corrupt, that's making big bucks off of our taxes. We don't need that. We don't need a flatulent national government with all these flashy idiots that are making millions of dollars from fraud, from money laundering. You really just need to just take a deep breath. Just take a deep breath and just say, hey, man, I don't have time for that kind of thinking. am I gonna judge you as like the ultimate normie of the normies, and and feel bad for weeks because I hate you so much? Who does it harm? It would harm me. I don't I've been through it. I was suicidal. I was so hypersensitive to what other people were thinking about me because I do have a little bit of telepathic ability, and I could or maybe I was delusional, and I was just thinking that all these people were looking at me and thinking like, what is wrong with that guy? I was so focused on what you thought of me that I couldn't live. I didn't want to live. And I've gone through this dark night of the soul. I went through it many years ago, and I still, I can still access if I need to, but I don't really want to go back there. And the way I stay out of addiction, weird stuff, any weird, looking at weird movies, and all this other stuff, is by having a very active, healthy life, by creating, by working. We almost framed out the entire second floor, Lawrence and I. So I only have one window left to put in on the second floor of my house. This is exciting. To work with your hands, to be focused on a goal of building this house over time, to be focused on the goal of sharing LifeWave. I'm going to do it. I'm just going to share this. We now have the water machine in our house. We haven't set it up yet, but thank you, Jane, for everything you do. Jane helped us acquire this thing, and we're going to try. What? Not Jane. Sandy, I'm sorry. Sandy helped us acquire this machine. It's just so beautiful. And is Sandy going to come visit us? We hope so. Diane came to visit us. Lawrence came to visit us. We're having our friend James is going to come. We're opening our space. We want people to see what we're doing up here. Eventually, we hope to have enough room for people to come in and spend some time with us. But I've realized, we spent a wonderful week with Lawrence. It was absolutely transformative. He was just so added so much to our little life here, and was able to just sleep on the floor every night, and not, we just, we almost giggled ourselves to sleep every night. We were like having a pajama party every night. We were just talking about the EBS and joking about how people are so hung up on the EBS. But anyway, these patches are really great for you, for directing your health, for keeping you out of this nanoparticle blitzkrieg that they tried to perpetuate against humanity. The Archons and their cabal, their slaves, their emotionless, hybrid slaves that tried to vaccinate us to death, and they succeeded to some extent. That these patches will help, in my opinion. I mean, I'm not allowed to make health claims, but the X39, glutathione, and Eon are three patches that, if you've gotten vaxxed, I recommend you put on those three patches. I also recommend you take ivermectin, a course of ivermectin. I like to eat raw garlic every day. I mean, we eat only organic, organic food, whatever that means. They could be, there was one organic brand in New York that said, we only use FDA accepted pesticides, and was called organic. I mean, we live in the world of trickery and lies. We live in the world where a guy like Bruce Springsteen or Oprah Winfrey, who are probably drinking adrenochrome and killing children, or worse, are the ones that people look to for wisdom. I mean, it's like, whoa, no, thank you. So anyway, I encourage everyone to get with the LifeWave program. This is a frequency-based modality. It is based on frequency, and it's all about frequency. We have to just Stay out of the loosh, stay out of the negativity, stay out of the territory of the demon of doubt. Don't entertain them, as and if you do entertain them, do not, in my opinion, try not to beat yourself up, man. We're human and we're imperfect, and that's what's so beautiful about us. That's the most exciting thing about you, is that you're not perfect. And a lot of people, the things like with Samantha, she's able to really access a kind of a profound prophetic really vein of thinking. I mean, I do it to some extent as well. I don't, it's a stream of thought. I am just open. I become like an open channel, and things just come to me without obstruction. So one could say, well, Ellie, man, you're a fucking weirdo, man. You can't, why can't you like just talk like every other podcaster? Okay, here's the issue, and this is what we're going to do about it, and this is the bad guy, and this is the good guy, and oh my God, that. Why can't you do that? Why can't you just be a normal podcaster? I'm like, well, I can't. It's not me. And that's what draws you to me, because you probably have something very similar running through your frequency program, and you identify, and you're like, hey man, he's talking my language, because we don't think in a linear fashion. We don't think, oh yeah, this is the news story of the day. It's like, no, that those days are gone, man. The news story of the day is where's your frequency right now? Are you holding with joy, with purpose, with and when you're not in joy, are you able to take a deep breath and reconsider the moment and try to get back on course? Or do you just like go with it and just start breaking windows? I mean, it can be dangerous. So this is an evolutionary experience, and I agree with Matt Myers. But I encourage you to get with good health. I think it's really important, and yeah, the more interested in questions than answers. Yeah, I think so. I think it's really, yeah. I agree, Nancy. It's all about the questions. Get rid of taxes is the key. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean taxes. Period. I mean, I don't, except that I have to pay them when I go to buy things, and like that. But I don't pay taxes. I don't file taxes, and if that's what I'm saying, is that this liberation event is the EBS, for example. Lawrence and I were laughing because everyone's waiting for the EBS, and Lawrence is like, the EBS is not even going to happen until all these people are arrested, until there's a kind of a unity, and the EBS is you are the EBS, and you are able to refocus your frequency on creation and positive change and on your purpose. That triggers that's when the Archons have no power. That's all it that's how do you defeat the Archons? You just, hey man, I'm not involved. I'm not going to get into the fear space. It's hard, and you'll be challenged. I mean, I was challenged. I saw a post, and the guy said, somebody said, your land is up for sale. I was like, that can't be. I don't believe that. I'm not going to entertain that thought. I'm above that kind of thinking. And then I found out it really was up for sale. And the people, and when I went downtown to find out about it, they couldn't find it either. So, but we found it, we dealt with it, we were helped by a generous member of the community, and we're forever grateful. And yes, we are trying to recoup our finances so that we can buy back this loan, if we can. If we have to do it by somebody coming up here and giving them sort of rights or a section of the land, so be it. I'm open to all possibilities. I said a few videos ago that I entertain everything that comes my way. I say yes to everything, and then if it doesn't work out, I say, okay, I guess that's not That's not where I'm supposed to be. But like when it comes to scammers, I mean that I will never reach out to you ever. So I'm sorry if you got scammed. I got majorly scammed out of a lot of things, a lot of money. But it's these are lessons. But I'm never, ever, ever going to reach out to you on Facebook and say, "Hey, man, I got this new crypto deal." Okay, so anyway, yeah, so I'm more interested in questions. Yeah, I think so. And that's the beauty is that so much of the mystery is being revealed right now. Archons? You ever hear of archons when you're in school? You ever hear of archons in advanced theology in college? No. I heard about Abraham, and Sarah. I mean, we're learning stuff that is high energy. And anyway, the life wave works on frequency. So I thank everyone and I appreciate your support. And we are going to be trying our water machine, our X2O machine, which they say is an instant success. You drink it and you feel it because this is frequency. Because David Schmidt has figured out a way to alter the water molecule through frequency change so that it accepts the actual wavelengths of six different wavelengths of light, and that goes directly into your body, and your body laps it up like a hungry animal, and you feel really good right away. We haven't tried it yet, but we will in the next couple of days. But thank you, Sandy, for helping out Daniela and I with this machine, and we hope to be able to report firsthand of what it's like. Water's a very big deal to people who live in the desert. We think and talk about water a lot because we don't have we have to go to great lengths to supply ourselves with water. Whether we haul it by truck or we have well pump issues now. I mean, it is a big deal to be on the desert, but we have figured out many different ways of doing it, and things keep working in a great direction. So I'm going to try. I'm going to attempt again. It is transformative time. Yeah. Archons or you persuade? Yeah, I mean the actual way it happens, I don't know, but I just say it's an ongoing thing, and every time you say, "I hate that," no, I'm not even going to think about it. I don't, you know what? It's a beautiful day. Every time you do that, the Archons are like, "Damn, these people," because they can't understand divinity. They can't understand a sense of purpose. They can't understand that we love this place. We love being creators. On the X2O, yeah, yeah, me too, me too. But yeah, thank you. Anyway, so just I love you guys, and we got this, and it's as simple as taking a deep breath or clutching your keys or whatever. I mean, if in my looking back, I wish that somebody had talked to me when I was like 5 years old, the way well, I'm talking to you guys now. I wish that somebody had come to me and said, life isn't the way people make it out to be. It's not all about getting married and going to college and getting a job and paying your tax. That's not really what life. I wish there were teachers, and there will be in the future. There, if there are children in my environment, I will be talking to them like I'm talking to you right now. I don't, I'm not going to baby talk with kids. I'm going to give them the real deal as I see it. That's how I brought up Mendel. I mean, he got the real deal from the get go, and he's a very wise young man. He doesn't deal with emotional issues like I did when I was. He's not over the top and rehabs and addicted to drugs and getting into car accidents. He's very, thank God, he's very stable and well, because the experience that I went through, that I suffered through, I learned a lot. But we are all teachers, and we are going to teach the new generation, they'll be high level beings, but we will have to share with them directly, and they will understand, I think. So, we're coming into the promised land. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna try better than I did last night to play a tune. Um, Leaving the Matrix. Let's try. Let's just try. Let's do New Morning together. And again, I'm is stopping me from talking to you. The YouTube, yeah, I'm not surprised. If you really want to talk to me, just send me an email, or even better, the best way to get a hold of me. I am a little bit difficult to reach, not because I'm so busy doing important stuff, because I'm like completely in my brain, and I'm whatever. I'm focused on getting the next window in. Okay, so let me just put in the best way to reach me is probably um, I think I think this would be the best way to you could the best way to reach me is through Daniela, because Daniela kind of tells me, "Oh, you just got a text from Matt Myers." And and I'm like, wow, man, Matt Myers is texting me. I'm like, I'm so flattered. He's such a wise dude. And so I respond, but I'm not as religious about checking out every message as she is. So if you really want to get a hold of us, just get a hold of Danielle, and Danielle will share it with me. She's my contact with reality. She keeps me from falling off the edge of the world, because we live on cliffs, kind of like on cliffs, and I would just whatever. Okay, so yeah, thanks for being here. Let's play a tune, but I'm not going to play the video, the visual part of the video, because I want you to just close your eyes and listen to the song. We're going to do the song about New Morning, and remember, New Morning happened to me 30 years ago when when Sparky Brown and a woman named Sheila decided to help open my heart. I ended up flinging myself onto their front porch. I drove like 4 hours from Nashville to Chattanooga, whatever it was, and where Sparky was. Sparky said, "Yeah, come on over." I was probably tripping my brains out, but this woman Sheila just held me for hours and hours, and Sparky put his hand on my chest, and I was able to get out of the kind of New York mode that I was escaping, and ease into a whole nother dimensional reality, which I had a ball. This was back in the 90s. I had a ball in Nashville. This is my second trip to Nashville. And the first trip it was in the early 70s, when I was a very serious banjo player. I was pretty good, but I kind of maxed out. I couldn't go to the next level. I eventually lost interest, but I was there to write songs, and I'm still trying to write. I'm still writing songs. So let's just enjoy this transformative little piece. Again, I don't want to have the visual, because I think the visual sort of clouds the intent. Now let's see if I can do this quickly. Let's see. Okay, so this is New Morning, right? About this transformation that I underwent. Let's see if I can do this.
Waking up on the front porch, Sunday at dawn. The night was hotter than hell and forever long. I can see the first light breaking through the trees. I feel the changes in the cool breeze of freedom. And it's a new morning. It's a new morning. We never saw it coming, hiding in plain sight. Banksters taking power, stealing our lives. They were looking to bury us in debt, shame and fear. But our roots grew stronger as we reached into the air with freedom. And it's a new morning. It's a new morning. With each day we're rising up in this world with the power of love, with the power of peace, the power of joy, the power of truth, and the power of freedom. And it's a new morning. It's a new morning. It's a new morning. It's a new morning.
So it's a new morning. Freedom is rising. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's a new morning, and it is freedom, and it is they tried to bury us in debt, shame, and fear, but our roots grew stronger as we reach into the air with freedom. So many thanks to you for being here, for being you. Contact us if you need us. We're becoming more open. We're at reaching a point where we're kind of almost have shelter, some kind of shelter, and we have. I think it's a king snake, from what I understand. We have it. We now have a king snake inside the house, which I'm very happy about because he'll eat the mice and hopefully keep the rattlesnakes away. So we're delighted that our first pet is big and beautiful, and yeah, you know, I mean, I probably could figure out how to keep him out, but at this point, we're not, we're not, we're not at a place where we're still pretty much we got plywood walls and all that good stuff, but we're still kind of camping out. So anyway, it's a new morning, man, and all you have to do is really don't let them trap you. Just practice, and if you don't get it right, you're like, okay, man, I screwed up, but I'll try it again. That's what I do. Sometimes I just things somebody says something, and I'm just like, what? I'm very touchy that way, but as I try to get to, I'm better than I used to be, and I just like now I'm just like. Yeah, so I'm like changing the subject, whatever. Okay, so may the force be with you. May you use the force. Use the force, and this is it. You are a divine spark, so use the force. direct the energy, direct your frequency in the way that you want to be. Tomorrow we'll be broadcasting about the Republic. So if you if you want to join in with my with the Constitutional Warriors, with Ellie's Warriors, and send Paul a Gmail, that's hunky dory. We'll also be doing our health thing. I can't even believe it's Thursday already. Time just flies. We're now back. It's just the two of us. So we're kind of. It was really nice to have a guest here, and he was just a wonderful person. We had such a nice time, and now he's going off to do some other things, and we're we're gonna stay in touch and laugh about the EBS. And may source be with you. May you realize that you have a spark, not a spark. You are the divine, period. You don't need to go through, you don't need anyone's permission. You don't need the Mashiach. You don't need, in my opinion, you just need to recognize that you don't have to be in the matrix, at least not, emotionally, mentally, or in actuality. You're just like, hey, man, I'm not really into that. I'm okay just the way I am. So let's get out there with a big smile on our face and rock the world.